Hello, Token Metrics family. Thank you again for tuning into the show Crypto Deep Dive. I'm your host, Mehdi Farouk, Senior Investment Analyst at Token Metrics. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive on a very interesting project called Efinity. This is an NFT marketplace project which is striving for obtaining the first parachain auction in the Polkadot ecosystem. Before we go into the details of the project, I wanted to clarify a few things regarding NFTs, so our audience has a better grip in terms of when I say NFTs, what do I typically mean, and if I say I'm bullish on NFTs, what does that imply when I start my presentation. So for me, NFTs are not just JPEGs or art. I feel like it represents much more than that. So as you can see, the whole item list is listed over here. For me, the major category for NFTs are two things: gaming items, an entire virtual world within the metaverse, and digital real estate. Now, these are two subcategories of this NFT theme, which I'm very, very bullish on. But apart from that, you can also see that NFT could represent exclusive access to particular events. It could be concerts, for example. It could imply fractionalized, like a part ownership of physical items like real estate, classic cars, music track, music albums, you name it. It can also represent tickets for sports event. It can also represent ebooks or chapter of ebooks. We saw at Token Metrics, we kind of distributed our book into different chapters, and those chapters will be distributed as NFTs. NFT can represent poems, consumer reward programs, particular club membership. We are seeing this theme also emerge, that in order to access particular DAOs, you need NFT for that DAO to kind of become a part of it. It can also represent social media posts. So the verdict is, in my opinion at least, NFTs are not just JPEGs. They represent much more, and it's a very, very broad category. So I wanted to clarify this before I delve deeper into this report, because I'll be issuing statement that why I like NFTs, and in this case, our audience should know what I mean by NFTs. So I just told what do I imply by NFTs, but what are my views? Like, am I bullish on the whole sector? And what are some of my thematic plays within NFT? So firstly, I believe we are too early for taking concentrated bets on single NFTs. When I say single NFTs, I mean some of the JPEGs we see. I think we're too early in this space to kind of take these heavy duty bets. So like for example, there are 10,000 JPEGs. How do we know that one JPEG from that, or maybe like few JPEGs from that, based on some rarity, wins the NFT battle? It's very difficult. So I believe 90% of the JPEGs will lose value, and only 1% will approximately become blue chip or part of culture. And some of those NFTs that are inclined towards becoming part of culture or becoming blue chip, for example, Board Club, CryptoPunks, they're already very expensive. So betting on the next Board Club and a CryptoPunk is a very, very speculative exercise in my opinion. However, I do believe incredible opportunity lies within the metaverse and gaming, and this is why I'm very bullish on Efinity, at least from a fundamental standpoint, to kind of capture this thematic of metaverse and gaming through NFT. So I believe like one of the best ways to kind of play NFTs, the whole NFT sector, is basically by tokens of NFT marketplaces. Now, we can't buy OpenSea. We don't have any listed equity. We don't have listed tokens, but opportunities like OpenSea, I believe, captures the narrative of NFT beautifully. So for me, in order for us to take a bet on NFT, index level, macro level, big picture bet makes more sense. Apart from that, I also believe there will be few trends coming up in the future. For example, NFTs that can communicate with each other or across chains will be very important. So at the moment, market is absorbing metaverse as a theme. I think going forward, multiverse will become a theme as well. Across chain compatibility in different chains and in different universe will be very important. And I also believe NFT that kind of evolves based on actual world event or data, or kind of unlocks access to benefits in the real world, could also become a very, very interesting play. So what do I mean by that? For instance, assume you're speaking to Siri and you kind of give Siri instruction that, let's say, if my child completes this task, give him or her a NFT, and that NFT unlocks, let's say, 2 hours of YouTube. So these kinds of conditional NFT, I believe, could become very interesting. So these are some of my views around NFTs and NFTs as a sector. So one of the reasons we like Efinity is because some of the futuristic themes that we are kind of seeing for NFTs, Efinity is capturing that. So I spoke earlier about NFT speaking with each other across chains, and NFTs focusing on gaming collectibles will be very important going forward, or NFT focusing on multiverse, collectible, and marketplaces for those. So a lot of themes that are very interesting and that could emerge in the future. Efinity kind of captures it in a very strong manner. Not only that, you can also see when we conducted our fundamental scorecard and the fundamental review, it scored 89, which is very high. There were only few projects that have scored better than this in last quarter. It also scored 86 on our technology scorecard. So that means the developer activity, the code, and so on and so forth is high quality, or at least there is indication that these are the code will be of high quality. So scored really well on fundamentals from fundamental standpoint. So just to give you a brief overview of what Efinity is trying to do, they're trying to create a next generation blockchain for digital assets, and they're trying to build up on Polkadot. So what that means is, if they were able to create a marketplace on Polkadot, their marketplace will have the ability to communicate with 99 other parachains on Polkadot, as well as other blockchains like Ethereum, because Polkadot has EVM compatibility, and through also bridges to Flow and Near and other blockchains, they will be able to transact. So it kind of makes sense because Polkadot is a next generation blockchain, and it's at the moment solving some of the issues we are seeing at Ethereum. So for example, we are seeing high fees, slow network, inflexible smart contracts, and a lack of interoperability in Ethereum. So what Efinity is claiming is their blockchain will be able to conduct about 700 to 1,000 transactions per second, and Ethereum can only conduct 15 transactions per second, and the speed of those transactions will be 5-6 times higher as well. So they're claiming that the transactions will be in 6 seconds. Now think of yourself in shoes of a gamer. You want fast transaction if you're playing games. Let's say if you completed a mission and developer wants to give you an NFT. From a developer standpoint, having a mechanism where they issue an NFT is not only fast, but also very, very low fees. In some cases, doesn't have any fees at all, will be very, very important for a seamless experience within the gaming. So for this purpose, especially for gaming, Efinity believes that Polkadot is the future, and hence they're building over there. So Efinity also has certain unique selling points for their protocol. So some of the unique points that I kind of gathered from their white paper is that Efinity is trying to create, I think, the first automated market maker called Efinity Swaps. So basically, within the Efinity marketplace, let's say if users from other blockchains come over and they want to swap an NFT, and that NFT is maybe some weird standards, let's say not a ERC20, ERC720, they will still be able to swap those tokens. And this AMM will have the liquidity to kind of swap NFTs, which tend to be liquid. So if you think about it, Efinity is also kind of like a DeFi play for NFT, which is very interesting. And I haven't seen a lot of projects kind of do that. They're also trying to tap into this thing called feeless NFTs. So one way they're trying to make the NFT not have any fees associated is, let's say a developer makes a game, and within that game, player versus player or player versus environment, let's say when a player kind of completes certain tasks or acquires certain things, they will be able to get some NFTs. Now, what that means is, in a traditional sense, the users have to pay for the NFT. User will have to get a wallet, will have to pay gas fees and go to an exchange and buy stable coins and then buy with those stable coins. But what they're trying to create is that, okay, developers can subsidize the cost for these NFTs by putting the deposits of those NFTs into a fuel tank, which these developers will control, and the users will, just by playing seamlessly in a game, just being immersed in the game, would be able to acquire the NFT without paying any fees, without requiring any wallet, and without having any kind of friction associated within crypto industry as we see it at the moment. So I thought that was a very unique approach in order to solve some of the issues we are facing within the NFT industry. So apart from just creating AMM for NFTs, which I think is very interesting, I think the fundamental thing which differentiates them from a lot of projects I kind of foresee going forward is that they want to incentivize users to discover price. So what they're going to do is they're going to issue Efinity tokens to people who kind of issue not just liquidity, but issue kind of like, okay, this is the correct price, the correct bid price and correct sell price for a particular NFT way in advance than actual listing. So this will kind of create liquidity and create price discovery within the marketplace and within the gaming infrastructures of a lot of developers. And I feel like this will create a lot of network effect for them. So I thought this was a very interesting NFT idea that they're trying to implement. Also, what they're trying to do is they want to allow tokens to be modified and crafted. So for example, if you're playing a game, you have some kind of swords and you have some kind of fire and some kind of ember, for example, and stuff like that. And you want to combine those tokens to get like a more rare NFT or more rare gaming item. You can kind of combine those stuff and basically achieve a rare NFT, and all of this combination and logic will be handled in the backend, and you will be able to have a better NFT and better user experience. The team behind Efinity is actually the team that created the Engine platform. So Engine platform is one of the most renowned NFT marketplace. Also, some of the pioneers like the guy over here, Whitek and Celeb. They were the pioneers when it comes to the creation of ERC1155 tokens, which are now the go-to tokens for some of the gaming NFTs we see in the current blockchain space. So what this ERC1155 did was it kind of transformed NFTs by having the ability to combine fungible tokens with non-fungible tokens. So for example, you can make stuff, you can craft stuff by, let's say, having 20 gold, 5 silver, and 1 sword, and you can make it into a legendary sword by kind of combining these different tokens. And that is only possible today in the blockchain gaming sector because of ERC1155. So I wouldn't be wrong to say that the creators behind this team are amazing. They're very solid, and you can kind of compare them by saying that they are like the Vitalik of NFT industry. Not only that, they also understand the gaming sector well. For example, the COO Celeb Applegate, he had a Minecraft server, and he also had a marketplace based on the Minecraft server. So they understand gaming, they understand the psychology of gamers, and then creating a crypto product on top of it. They were successful with Engine, and I feel like they will also be successful with Efinity going forward. Also, you have one of the best VCs involved. Not necessarily a good thing because they got in this project before us. But yeah, you have top VC, you have Hypersphere, which have very good understanding of the Polkadot ecosystem. You also have Fambushi Capital, Arrington XRP, Hashkey, Block Tower. So yeah, very, very good VCs, high-class VCs are involved in this project. So this also gives us confidence that this project has a very good and bright future. So now let's just talk about token utility. So at the moment they are kind of raising for the Polkadot auction, so you can bond your dot, and in return you can get some Efinity token, and those Efinity token in few months time will have a lot of utility. So at the moment, what the team implies is that the token does not have one use, it will have multiple use cases, and the focus of the token is to basically incentivize network effects. So firstly, you'll have rewards for collator nodes within the Polkadot ecosystem who run the network. So these will be the ones who will kind of make the blocks and put the blocks into relay chain. So there will be rewards for them. Then you also have governance type of a feature where you need the tokens to kind of put forward some proposal for the future of Efinity. So you require the tokens. Efinity will also serve as the currency for transaction on the marketplace. So this will be the biggest usage and use case for Efinity tokens. You will also have rewards for buyers and sellers who kind of helps price discovery. So these will be the buyers and sellers who will basically, even before NFTs and on a marketplace, they will issue bid and ask in terms of what the correct price of a particular NFT should be. Since NFT is very illiquid and there is issues with price discovery, so with the Efinity token they will try to kind of combat that. I think if they are able to combat that, create like more liquid pools for NFTs and kind of have this price discovery function working well, I believe this could become the highway for all of the NFTs going forward. People will basically start using their crypto native people will start using their marketplace for all of the NFT transaction, in my opinion. Then you also have developers who kind of build their games using Efinity tools. They will be eligible for grants, and this grants will be coming from the transaction fees, like a portion of that will be coming from the transaction fees from the marketplace. And then whoever holds Efinity tokens will also be able to use JumpNet, which is kind of similar to the layer 2 for Ethereum, and their transaction limit will be dependent on how much Efinity they hold, and they can enjoy free NFT minting features and ERC token transfer on chain. So that's another interesting use case for Efinity token. So the token demand side, I would say, has a lot of utility. It has multiple use cases and kind of builds a circular economy where a lot of people who will buy Efinity will kind of stay on the network and kind of hodl them, and also kind of facilitates network effect and kind of wants to make the Efinity marketplace the go-to highway. Now let's talk about the supply of the tokens. If you can see that they were not being very greedy. 35% of the token supply will be used for ecosystem development. So let's say onboarding developers, marketing, and things like that. Then 15% will be given as staking rewards for collator nodes. 20% and was kept by the company, I think the engine company. 10% is kept by the team, and I would say 20% is given to 15% is given to investors. So you have like different big VCs involved. So what I like is with these big VCs involved, they didn't give them more than 15%. So that is very interesting and I think the way forward. So I would say token supply is kind of fairly decentralized. Now it depends with the ecosystem, are they being honest or not? So if they're very honest with regards to the development of this ecosystem, then this would be a classification that's a very decentralized network. But with this ecosystem, if they kind of kept it within the foundation and not deployed for the development of Efinity, this turns into a centralized token supply. So thing is, with the success of Engine, I feel like what they're kind of portraying will be the truth. So in this case, I believe it's a fairly decentralized token supply. Now, in terms of token unlocks, since you have token unlocks for the team and the investors and the public sale and things like that, you see 2022 being one of the years where there will be like 100% jump in terms of the circulating supply of the token. So I feel like this is something investors need to keep an eye on and maybe be patient. So when these token unlocks happen and there's a huge price impact in terms of price going down, this could be a time to perhaps buy the dip. So patience in this case could be the key in order to accumulate Efinity tokens if you're interested in, and just to also be wary of that there could be price volatility in year 2022 because of these aggressive unlocks. Now, if you compare Efinity with some of the other protocols like Rari token, OpenSea. OpenSea doesn't have a token but has equity. OpenSea has valuation 1.5 billion. Rari token has a valuation of 400 million. And Engine, which is a well-established marketplace for gaming items and collectibles and NFTs, they have a valuation of 2.9 billion. Now, in case of Efinity, even without a product ready, they are trading at a very high valuation relative to A-grade marketplace. So for me, that kind of makes them slightly more expensive compared to their peer groups. Also, they're kind of expensive if you compare it to the gaming sector average fully diluted valuation. So the gaming sector fully diluted valuation is 1.7 billion, Efinity trading at 2.4 billion. So again, slightly more expensive. Now, if you compare the whole sector of metaverse, I would say Efinity is fairly valued. The metaverse sector valuation is 3 billion. Efinity Efinity average valuation is 2.4 billion. Slightly cheaper, fairly valued, I would say. Now, if you compare with the NFT sector average, sector average is 700 million, and Efinity valuation is 2.4 billion. Again, compared to the sector valuation, it's overpriced. Now, there could be opportunity if you believe and if the fundamentals plays out correctly. If they can capture 0.5% of the total crypto market size. At the moment, NFTs are 1 to 2% of the total crypto market size. But if Efinity is able to capture 0.5% of the total crypto market share, we can kind of see a target price of 7.5 to 8.75, which means 6x to 10x returns easily over here. However, despite some of the valuation concerns, there are other risks involved. So first risk is obviously valuation. I believe valuation is kind of steep. Ideally, Efinity, for us to make easy 10x or 5x, the valuation has to be below 1 billion. Apart from that, you are also seeing competitors in the DOT ecosystem. One of the biggest competitors they'll have is Unique Network, and what they're also doing is very ambitious, and they're becoming a blockchain where other marketplaces can build on. So it's one of the next crypto stories that I will cover. But yeah, they have strong competition. Again, Polkadot is untested, so betting on Efinity is also betting on Polkadot, and we are also kind of paying at current price. We are paying for perfect execution. We believe the product will be ready. It will basically do well, and the valuation is reflecting that. But for some reason, if Polkadot cross-chain communication doesn't work, we might have paid for a project that doesn't work or doesn't function as intended. Also, for me, another risk is from the traditional legacy side of things. Let's say big gaming companies initiate their own NFT marketplace inside their own games, then perhaps you might not need Engine, or you might not need Efinity for that matter. So these are some of the risks to our thesis. And yeah, the biggest one being the valuation. Guys, the verdict is this is a very strong project with good fundamentals from technology side as well as from teams, investors, and tokenomics. Now the issue is valuation. If you're comfortable taking the valuation risk, there are few technical entry points that you can do in order to build up a position for Efinity. One point is over here around 1.07 level. This level is the support, I think a very strong support. Firstly, you have a psychological mark of 1 below it, and previous resistance was around this mark as well. So you can accumulate a position here. You'll accumulate a position around 2 billion, 2.1 billion, which is slightly on the higher side. The other levels you can look for is around 0.7 level. You also kind of see strong resistance before here. So this could eventually become support. And or perhaps you can have some more patience and kind of test the bottom of this price chart and build up a position. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Stay tuned for the next one. I'll see you later.